This is going to be part 2 of my how to learn the 5-string violin. In part 1 I covered some details about my instrument and a couple of opening remarks. In this video I want to get into how much rosin I put on, how much pressure I put on the bow, a little bit about my posture and my routine, and just a couple more basic things to get you guys started, or if you're interested in learning to play, or if you're just curious about my routine and how I went about it. Alright, well, the other thing that I bought when I first got it was this rosin. This is Part-2 rosin. This is what the box looks like. It's got this silvery nice stuff on it. I like the sound of this one. Out of the ones that I've tried, this was my favorite. It has a nice balance to it and it sounds nice and warm and sweet sounding. So I'm going to show you how much I put on the bow. I literally just kind of scrape it across once or twice. When I was learning, I didn't know how tightly I should have the bow wound, and I didn't know how much pressure I should have on the strings, and I didn't know how much that related to how much rosin should be on it. I had to learn that by feel, and so what I've got to now is I just put it off a couple times across, and what I test for is that I want the of the sound to be nice and bright, because I want it to be able to go from soft to bright, right? So if I have like a, there's enough rosin, but I think maybe I tighten the bow a little bit more. Maybe it'll respond a little bit better with a bit more tension. There's danger sometimes you get it too tight and then it feels constricted, but if it's too loose it turns too soft, and then you end up putting too much pressure with your arm into the string instead of just kind of having the optimal point right there. See, it's a little bit softer now that I've softened it. This is the Baroque bow again, by the way. I wanted to show a difference of this again because it shows that your routine needs to be efficient. The Baroque bow is light, and so with enough rosin it will still perform correctly, but by nature I might be, putting a lot of pressure into it to get the same amount of volume that I'm used to. So I want to also talk about the angle and the exact movements that make it sound right. So if you're starting out, one of the biggest things that's going to be frustrating is that you half the time you start your note and it goes, or you're going, you're getting those it's not quite ding, it's you want to get that as clean as possible to start off. So having the right tension on the bow is crucial to that. It needs to be tight enough that you feel like you have a firm control of the beginning and the ending of the note. For your bow angle, obviously everybody says you want to have it nice and parallel to the string. Also, you can tilt your bow to an extent, but I found that you want to tilt it forward and not backward. I didn't know this until I started to observe it, and I started to eventually feel like, what are the things that I'm missing still? And one of the things that I found that I was missing was that my angle was not correct this way, and it would end up making the bow kind of skid off in the wrong direction, and it also mean that my tendons, or my the rotation in my arm, was actually kind of backwards. So because I had it back this way, my whole arm is a little bit in the wrong position, and when I have it this way, your arm is a bit more relaxed actually. That's what I found in my experience anyway. So if I were to compare the tone that I get when I'm not thinking about it, the angle might be moving around, and that's going to actually be generating some of those squeaks and those kind of it's a note, but not a beautiful note. I find that when I have it forward like this, it actually it tends to diminish some of those noises. So in my head anyway, my autopilot nowadays is to move it forward in my angling. They say that when you angle it, it means that less of the actual hair or nylon is in contact with the string, so it means you also have a little bit more precision in your notes. You might put it flat on when you want the most volume, and you might angle it forward when you want to taper it off a little bit. And it keeps the sound a little bit safer in my head anyway. It makes you feel like you're driving a little bit more safely across your string. My posture, I used to notice that I would spin and turn around a whole lot when I was playing. I would do that unconsciously, and I noticed that that was actually disrupting the muscles in my back and disrupting my coordination, and that I realized I got a lot better results as well when I just kept in the same exact place. Doing this with the videos actually tends to help me notice a lot of these things too. I started to notice that I was really all over the place, or say that I had it plugged in and the cord itself would be getting twirled and twirled and twirled. I'd be like, where is that coming from? And I didn't even notice that I was literally just kind of ambling around, spinning in circles as I was playing. So I noticed that I get a lot better results from my practice, and I can actually feel it more in the muscles in my back when I am in one place, nice and planted with my feet. Kind of trying to demonstrate that as I shift around and as I change my volume level, the smoothness of those transitions and the smoothness of the sound has to be rooted in, a gradual change in your muscles, movements, and it can't be it can't be like convulsive or compulsive. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. It can't be that I'm allowing random changes that my body is making to affect my tone. And so the more that I'm planted nice and firmly, and the more that I have specific angles that I'm trying to stay on, the more consistent my tone gets. I'm not classically trained on this stuff, and I'm not really rooted in classical music, and so in a way I'm finding my own way through this. So if any of these pieces of information that I say are in slight conflict to maybe other videos you're seeing, it's in a way it's because I've improvised my way through the learning process here. But by all means, none of that makes it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that it's my approach. So I hope that itself maybe makes that more clear if it's at all vague. What did I want to cover? I wanted to cover the contact point, a couple different posture ideas. Breathing's another one you gotta know. And this is going to affect, overall it's going to affect the efficiency of your sound production, right? So you want to not tire out your arm. You might find when you get actual pain like in your joints or in your fingers, you want to avoid that, right? You will have like the feeling of your muscles getting stronger. So you have muscles throughout your hand and in the meaty parts of your hand, and back here in your arm and in your back. You have muscles there that should be being engaged, and you should feel some kind of growth or a bit of tiredness in those muscles, but you shouldn't feel pain, right? So if I think about my breathing and my back and my arms and everything and all those things, that's a lot to work on. But bit by bit, you can work on all of those things, put them on a list basically, and start checking them off. The more that you start recording yourself, it also becomes a lot easier to notice what you are doing that you don't realize that you're doing. The Baroque bow is lighter. That also affects the efficiency. So I find that if I'm getting that volume, I might be pressing pretty hard with the Baroque bow, but if I went back to the standard bow, Not pressing as hard. I haven't rosin that one up yet. So I want to show you how I remove the rosin too. It will come with your violin will come with a normal cloth, and you can use any real handkerchief or kind of cloth really to it. I used this piece of fabric that I found. It's a little bit more texture on it. It can actually grab all of the rosin off of it very correctly each time. You might want to practice for 5 minutes at a time. You might want to practice for 10 minutes at a time. It's up to you. Sometimes I practice for really just short bursts because I want to see if I'm unconsciously remembering the right techniques. So I might practice for 40 minutes and really wear myself out one time. I might do that once per day, but then I also practice in short intervals as well, just as time permits and as my interest draws me. Let's play a little bit more. Let's do some riffs. So I wanted to demonstrate maybe a couple of different ideas, just to get more playing in the video before it's over. I've only got a certain amount of memory on my phone, so that's why I'm keeping these at a reduced length. This is part 2, like I said. There will be part 3. I'm just going to keep going with these. Feel free to comment and leave suggestions or requests that you might have, things you want to cover. I'll eventually be covering music theory and maybe some songs and ideas like that. There's obviously still jams and whatnot on my channel that I post, so watch those too if you're interested. Anyway, this one I wanted to cover the rosin, the pressure, the posture, and general routine advice. Ooh, the chop, that's the other thing I was going to say. One of the strokes that you got to learn, or that I wanted to learn early on when I was getting into this, was the chop. I watched Casey Dreisens. Look up that guy's channel, man. To get the chop right, you got to have enough rosin. You might put extra rosin on to get the chop right because it's like glue. It's like you got glue on your strings and you're just like jumping in a puddle with glue on your shoes. That's basically what the rosin is going to do for your chop sound. Another group that uses the chop really well is the Turtle Island Quartet. You'll hear them chugging along through their songs, and you just got like